Hello, everyone. This is Justin Roberti from Benzinga. This is Web3 Anarchy. And I believe we'll have Logan joining us a little bit shortly as well. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming back and speaking with us today, or coming to watch us today. Today, we have a very special guest, which is music writer and producer Illmind, who has worked with Aftermath. He's worked with he worked with the Hamilton remix album. He worked with Ariana Grande. He's honestly worked with so many different people. I cannot keep track of them. Just about everybody, with a major voice in the industry. And what he's done is taken his sense of collaboration over to NFTs and has a really exciting NFT project going on right now, which I'm fantastically excited to talk to him about. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Illmind on. I think that Logan should be joining us any moment as well. So take a look for any surprise appearances from Logan, who should be showing shortly. So let's go ahead and bring Illmind on. Hey, Illmind, how are you, man?
Hey, Justin, what's going on? What's up, everyone? I appreciate you tuning in. I'm honored to be here. Good to see you again, Justin. Yeah, today's
it's fitting. What's that?
This moment right now is super exciting because we just did our reveal for our NFT project.
I saw that. I saw you had a big reveal, and you should have waited for the show, and then you could have done it here. You could have revealed it on my show.
That would have been cool if we did like a live show, reveal show with you. But
I would have done that. You should have let me know. So what was your reveal, Il?
So we finally did our reveal for this big NFT project that we've been building for the past half a year now, called Squad of Knights, and all of our community members that pre-minted were finally able to reveal and see which knight they got. And the Discord's going kind of crazy right now. Twitter's going off right now, and it's really cool for everyone to see, which rarity traits they got and what color knights they got. And it's just a really fun time right now. So like this moment is like super exciting. I'm like on a high right now. And last night was the Grammys. I'm still out here in Vegas. I'm leaving tomorrow. Unfortunately, I lost, but we'll get them next time. But I feel like we got to win.
What were you in the running for? I know you were. Was it what was it? A soundtrack? What were you working on?
It was nominated. My nomination was for an artist named Nati Peluso, and it's a song I did called Sana Sana. That it actually won a Latin Grammy last year, and so it was up for a regular Grammy for best Latin alternative rock album. Yeah. So
it's a good thing our show wasn't during the Grammys, because I wouldn't have hated. I would have hated giving you that conflict. Like then it's embarrassing when you have to tell them you're like, I can't do it. I have to do Justin's podcast.
Well, I would have looked a lot better with a tux on and a tie. Right now, I'm looking kind of bummy, but that's okay.
Dude, me too. I understand. So you like I want to hear more about Squad of Knights. It's a cool project. It's cool that you are. Somebody says Zen Bullish says if you were there, you didn't lose. Il. There you go.
Yes,
there you go.
Absolutely right.
Don't lose the lesson or whatever else, like something Master Oogway would say or something like that. But no, it's true. It's true, because Il has had like an unbelievably killer career. How did you get started, man? Like how did you get into this in the first place?
You mean like NFTs or just?
Well, no, I mean with your actual how'd you get into music producing and songwriting? Which came first?
Yeah, so it just started with curiosity. I think curiosity is a starting point for a lot of people, right? So my father was a musician. Rest in peace. I lost him in 2010. And he played guitar. He was in a band. He used to be in this band, and they used to do wedding parties and New Year's and holidays and stuff like that. So he was the lead guitar player, and the name of the band was actually called FAME, FAME, which stood for Filipino American Music Entertainment. So it was like, half of the band was Filipinos, the other half were Americans. And they used to do these shows. And I, as a kid, like from the age of 5 to 11, I remember he would tag me along to all of his gigs, and I would they would pay me $20 and I would help them like roadie all the equipment from the van. And put like cables away and stuff like that. And I would just hang out with them like backstage, and I'd be on stage with them. And I just remember most of my childhood was just around like live music and just like musicians. And he also made music too. So at our house growing up, it was like, there's like a drum set in the corner, like in the living room. Like my mom used to just like yell at my dad, like, "Hey, like, the drums are too loud." You know what I mean? Like he was just always jamming. And
Sure.
when I was in high school, I remember my dad had this like keyboard, and it was a Roland. I think it was a Roland KR 4500 keyboard. And I remember it was like pretty expensive. He bought it for like a couple $1,000s,
Yeah.
and I remember he never used to let me touch it, obvious reasons. And I remember one day, I was probably like 13 or 14. He left. He was away, and I was home, and I decided to turn the keyboard on and mess around with it because I was just so curious. And
Mhm.
I remember composing like some weird thing. It probably sucked at the time, but that was like the super beginning seed that was
Sure.
planted for me. And then around that time, I started getting into hip hop and more music. And as time went on, I eventually got a keyboard of my own and started making beats and experimenting and just being curious. And those were the beginning stages. And I kind of like never stopped. So it's weird,
Mhm.
many years later, I still feel like that same kid who's just like super curious about music.
Well, sure, and honestly, like in its own way, that's a music and technology story too, isn't it? So if you think about it, I mean, like when you're dealing, especially, I remember the awe and fascination looking at like particularly the early Rolands, which it brings me back a little bit, where you have like a MIDI keyboard, like, oh, this can attach to your computer, and God knows what it could do back then. I mean, like Kraftwerk, Devo, like I like all that, I still kind of like it, something that my wife doesn't appreciate. I
Yeah.
mean, I should say, no, maybe she appreciates it about me. She does not like it. However, I do. So like I still think that period in time and like music is fascinating, and early synth stuff is fascinating. So like, was it a natural progression line? First of all, you're always pretty, like, especially in what you do, like say, songwriting and producing, you're in a pretty collaborative place anyway. So with this focus on technology and collaboration, it makes sense for you to transition to this collaborative idea. By the way, I'm going to bring Logan on because I'm not going to make Logan's fans wait for any more of that sweet Logan on screen. It's what they tune in for. Here he is. This is Ill. This is Logan.
What's up?
Logan thinks that it's okay to just wander in any old time when we're doing the show. That's the way he is.
Justin,
He's
I'm
gotten
so
too big.
sorry. I forgot that we were supposed to start early. I was just helping the production team with some TikToks, but I'm glad to be here now. It is an honor to meet you. Just off the bat, I hate to just disrupt the conversation, but "Love Yours" is one of my favorite songs, like of all time, right? And I know that there was a lot of people, a lot of collaboration that went into making that track, and I know that you love to collaborate as an artist. That's maybe part of the NFT project. I'm not sure if you guys have touched on that. But maybe if we could just talk
Oh, yeah.
about some of the best collaborations that you've had, with your time in the music industry, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate it, Logan. So yeah, I appreciate the kind words. Love Yours, J. Cole. That's definitely one of my favorite records of all time that I've ever worked on. Had the honor of working on. And to this day, out of all these hundreds of songs that I've done, I still always reference Love Yours as being one of the most important songs that I've been able to be a part of because of how deeply impactful it was, and just of what J. Cole was able to do to that. So in terms of like the collaboration, yeah, that was co-produced by my good friends Cardiac and Critical. And I met Cardiac. He's another producer. I met him back in 2000. I want to say like 2008, 2009, in and around the time where there were, a lot of like different beat battles, and I would used to see him at these like music conferences, and we got to know each other, and we collaborated on the beat. That was really just them, sending me piano ideas, music ideas, and then me sort of just like taking those loops and finishing those off, and we would just trade ideas, musical ideas, pretty often. And so one of my good friends, Matt, who I met over when he was at Universal Music Publishing a few years before that, started working with J. Cole. And he told me, Cole is in the studio, send us some beats, some music. So I sent him some music, and then a few months later, that turned into the song "Love Yours." And I remember flying out to LA and getting in the studio with J. Cole, and he was just telling me about the concept of the song and how that particular song was sort of like the concept for Forest Hills Drive, in terms of like speaking on abundance and being grateful for real things and self-love, which was a huge part of what that project meant. And so again, that was 8 years ago, 6 years ago, or whatever, and like I'm still very, very thankful to have been part of that.
It's such a great story that you were able to connect with Cole to make that record. It's not easy for producers, especially the the younger generation, to get their beats in front of these artists. And I think that's a part of your NFT project, right? Connecting artists with producers. If you could speak to kind of your vision for that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, 100%. I've realized over the years that the job of a music producer is not only to attempt to produce the best song possible in 8 hours, 12 hours, or however much time we have in the studio that day. It's also my job to bring the pieces together to make sure we make the best song, right? And so as a music producer, it's my job to go out and get a guitar player if we need one for that session, or bring in someone who can play gospel chords, since we're working on a singer songwriter type of song, or maybe even bring in some co-writers depending on who the artist is. And so the music producer job is to bring the pieces together, right? And to get the right people in that room to try to maximize the type of music that we can make it in that day or that week or however long we're in there. And so I sort of learned that over time. Hip hop music production started off as one person with like an MPC, like a little beat machine, and then we would take like these old samples from like the 70s and 80s, and we would loop them and chop them and add drums, and that was sort of how you made hip hop music, and it still is today. But nowadays, when you look at production credits on literally any mainstream album, and you see who the producers are and writers, chances are you're going to find like 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes even like 10 people involved in it. And so music has really circled back and has now become like a community driven initiative where music is being made by communities of people. And we kind of are forming this camaraderie within the producer community where we're collaborating with one another. And so taking all these ideas together, I told myself, wait, like if the music is reliant upon collaborating with your peers, then how do up and coming musicians find their peers? And it got me thinking, and I'm like, well, there's no real centralized or place to find people to collaborate with that is relatively frictionless, right? I mean, you have musicians that are DMing each other on Instagram, and you guys know cold DMing people usually doesn't work. And then you have like cold emails or jumping into Discords, but there's really no place that you can go to find people that want to collaborate with you. And so I wanted to create an NFT project that focused solely on the art of bringing creative musicians and creative people together in one group, and then incentivizing that group to get to know each other. And the way we incentivize them is through curated events in our metaverse, which we'll get to if we have time, in real life, where we're going to start doing, secret meetups and pop-ups at studios where they can meet each other for the first time in real life and really get to know each other. And we also have a token as well called the Night token, which is a reward token. It's not like part of it's not like an ERC token or anything that you cash out. It's really just a reward token for the Night members. And basically we're gonna do cool stuff like Squad of Night members can redeem those tokens for studio time in real life. you know. So we started partnering up with some studios where they're going to accept Night token as payment for studio time. So really cool stuff like that. I just want to incentivize and motivate people to work with their peers, because that's literally how you do it, right? That's literally like the beginning stages of how you can really expand and create momentum for yourself. You know, a lot of people are focused on wrong things. They want to get to Drake immediately. They want to get to, you know, Travis Scott or produce for major label artists and win Grammys. But it's like, wait, like let's start with your peers, right? You got to look left and right instead of looking so high. Let's look at, you know, the kid down the block who plays really good guitar. Work with that person, or you know, the musician that raps really well but has 1,000 followers or 100 followers on Instagram, but raps really well. You find them in the Squatter Knights community and you start collaborating with them. And you see, and apologize if I'm long-winded with this one, but this is really important. You know, when you look at the history of artists and producers collaborating and how powerful that is, you could trace it all the way back. You know, Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, right? MJ needed Quincy. Quincy needed MJ. They changed each other's lives. They weren't charging each other for beats, right? Quincy wasn't like, hey, Michael, I'll help you write the song, but you got to pay me, you know, $100 to do it. They were like, wait, you're amazing. I'm good at what I do. You like what I do. Let's just work. And that's how it starts, right? And then you can trace it back to Timbaland and Missy, right? Timbaland and Missy were up and coming producers and artists in Virginia, and they found each other and they were like, let's just work because you're awesome. And then you have Drake and 40, you have Future and Mike Will, you have Mustard and YG, you have, you know, Kendrick and Soundwave. So I can go on forever. And so I'm trying to create an environment where we can potentially birth those new relationships and give, you know, up and coming musicians a shot.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome, and it goes to show how you know, there's a progression between what you have always been doing and what you're trying to find a way to do better now. Like your community, your squad is very important to you as you're coming up, after all. And so I imagine that's probably what the intent of it. You said the Knights thing was kind of a reference to like the Knight in chess, for example, which is a wild card kind of player, right?
Yes.
And which I imagine is why he went for it, right? Like I'm not deep, like I just imagine.
Yeah, no, it's very simple, and I'm a big chess guy. I love playing chess, you know. So the idea of putting pieces together, you know, we creatively.
Well, by the way, there are you know, like aside from you going to learn Royce da 5'9" and Marshall Mathers, that's one of your tracks as well. But in my household, the biggest one is You're Welcome from Moana, which I literally, like, if you have kids, you repeat yourself. If you have an autistic son, you repeat yourself 5,000 times a day, 10,000 times a day, preferably in rhyme, preferably in song. Therefore, I am singing You're Welcome. Like, I sing that every day. I sing it several times a day. Which I guess doesn't have a lot to do with the produced version, but I love that freaking song. That's a good jam.
Listen, it's all about The Rock and Lin-Manuel. Those are the two pieces behind that. I just was honored.
I mean, you did that part. You know, and good. You got the drums in there. You got like the percussions.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember, I remember when I got that phone call. It was right after we finished the Hamilton mixtape, and Lin, you know, just called me and he was like, "Hey, do you want to work on this song? This new Disney movie coming out." He didn't tell me what it was called, and I was like, "Yeah, of course, absolutely, Lin. Like, let's do this." So that was a good moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like I think it's funny that Logan and I both have a favorite one of your songs that you produced. But okay, so you know, you're looking for a better way to connect people, and you had been, you know, already like had you already been looking for a technological solution? I know that you said that you were doing kind of like ciphers with just beats for a while there. And you were doing classes, sort of trying to think about how to put together something like an encouraging community, you know, before NFTs ever came along, and then NFTs kind of allowed you to scale that. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, yep. So in 2015, I had built a studio in Brooklyn, And you know, it wasn't not crazy. It was like, you know, 1,200 square feet. There was like a main room and then like a B room, and
Mhm.
I used to just, you know, invite collaborators that I would work with. I'm sorry, hold on one second. Sorry about that. I just got a
That's all
call.
right.
So I would basically invite, you know, different collaborators to come to the studio and work. And so we only left it open for 2 years, or
Mhm.
actually like a year and a half. And so in 2015, like late 2015, early 2016, we decided to close the studio. And so that last week of the studio being open, we were thinking, man, like we have one more week in this incredible space, like let's do something cool. And so I decided to invite, I think at the time it was like 10 up and coming music producers and rappers and singers to
Mhm.
actually come to our studio and to just hang out, right? They go there, they hang out, and play music, and we kind of get to know each other, maybe even collaborate a little bit. And I did it, and it was awesome. It was a success. And we did it every day for those last 7 days until we closed the studio. And then after we did it, I was thinking, man, we don't have a studio anymore, but that was really cool and awesome. Why don't we do it again? But why don't we do it at another studio? So I
Mhm.
booked a studio room in Manhattan, and we did it again. This time with 20 people, and they came and we did it, and it was awesome. And then eventually we started doing them once a month, and then we were going outside of New York. We started doing local, you know, Philly, New Jersey, and then eventually we went to the West Coast, and you know, we started doing these little producer get-togethers or these musician get-togethers every other month, and we did it for a few years. We stopped doing it in 2020, right before pandemic. 2020, we had a huge tour lined up. We were going to do Asia. We had Milan booked. We had Berlin, London, and Paris, and then we were going to go to Asia and do this whole thing, and then pandemic happened, and so we had
Tough.
to, yeah, so we had to, you know, pivot, and then pandemic happened, and then NFTs happened, even though they were
Mhm.
around much longer than that, but
Mhm.
it kind of became mainstream, and that's when my curiosity started with you know, blockchain and NFTs, and so now here we are, you know, a few moments later, a few years later, with Squad of Nights, and I'm able to take that passion and what we were able to build and put it into this project, and now we can really do it in a much more efficient way.
Mhm.
It seems like there's a subset of the music industry that is, hyper aware of NFTs and doing a lot of investing. There's another part of the music space that just doesn't really get it yet. I think any producer or artist would jump at the chance of joining a community with you and your network. How do you get them to realize that this NFT is more than just a picture of the chess piece?
I think we're in this interesting phase right now where there's still a very small percentage of musicians that actually know what an NFT is, right? I mean,
Mhm.
when you look at the global percentage of people that have a MetaMask and are in this, it's still a very, very small slice of the pie. And then when you take that small slice and you chop it into, you know, musicians in Web3, the slice is even smaller, right? And so essentially, I think it's time. You know, I think it's going to take time for people to kind of wake up and realize how powerful this is. But also, too, I really do feel like I'm sort of fighting a good fight because this is to me, I think, one of the first projects that's actually like a music focused community project, right? It's not about Illmind. It's not about me. I didn't
Mhm.
want to do like a PFP project that's like about Illmind. Like, hey,
Right.
here's a bunch of Illmind beats, and you can meet Illmind, and you know the whole like I don't want to name names, but it's not about like meet Illmind for $25,000. It's no, like I'm there to help you guys. Like you guys are the heroes. Like I you know, I've done really great things in music already and so far, and I feel like I still have a long way to go, but I have a lot to give, right? Like, and so I want to give musicians like a shot to like meet each other and like experience what I'm able to experience. And so I think it's going to take time. I think that as the utility and roadmap starts to become unveiled, I think more and more people are going to see the project and say, oh, whoa, like this is different. Like this is literally not like a pump and dump rug pull PFP thing. And you know, I think a lot of people are jaded, are tainted right now. I think a lot of people are feeling a certain type of way about NFTs. And so I'm going to try my best to just prove through action that like an actual community in music, or just the community in general, like could literally be built organically. And it's going to start here. It's a slow rise, but like that's how all great things are built. And so we're literally focused on community. I know that's a buzzword right now, but like,
no, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Honestly, you know, I'm a little bit mouthy. Like I love the NFT space, but I find that I gravitate more toward individual artists and one-off projects than generative projects and fundraising. Like that's kind of because the utility is there. Whereas I feel like these PFP and generative projects, usually in an interview, I can kick them all around by just continuing to ask them about what comes next, what the ongoing utility is. Because it, like, especially let's just say with the 2021 big projects, and I mean including some of the biggest projects, they clearly haven't worked out what the utility is going to be. They tack something on after they came up with a cool little, you know, animal, and then they and created generations of it, released 9,999, and now they're figuring out what to do after the fact. Last year we were using blood tokens. All right, now I'm picking on a specific project. You can use blood tokens to get a fancy champagne, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, don't forget the play to earn game that's coming too.
Right. Oh yeah, especially the games. Yeah, considering like the game I've been working on for the past 6 years, I think was supposed to come out 2 years ago in UE, and we're in Unreal Engine, just like most of ththese guys are. We're at UE4 now, everybody's in UE5. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, you guys are gonna go out with especially when they tell me it's gonna be an MMO. I'm like that. I look forward to that.
You know what? It's a shame too, because like obviously it's most of them that aren't doing these things, but like the few that are though. Like it's like unfortunate because it's like ruining it for them, right? Like there's definitely like a small handful of like legit projects that are like actually doing games that are like actually cool.
Yeah.
But like it's just clouding. It's creating this like mystery cloud, and it's like kind of ruining it for the good guys, right? So.
Well, and you've got an actual like an actual society here, an actual like. There will be more point to these people talking to each other than just to hang out and talk about that it's really nice to own an ape. Like, which I think is great for the apes. You know, I'm happy for them and everything. I don't own one. That's why I feel this way. Maybe I'm full of bitterness. But you know, like I think Logan does, right? I think right. Don't you and Ryan? Aren't you and Ryan have apes?
Yeah, I think the differentiation that I like to make is that most of these like quote unquote communities are just bag holder support groups, right? They're not actually a community. They don't have anything in common other than the fact that they're both down big time on their investment, right?
Right. Right. I mean, you know, and I feel like I definitely think Bored Ape Yacht Club is going to work it out for what it's worth. But how many other projects that came after them that are like Me Too projects are going to do the same? Not everybody can have big hands. Not everybody can be doing the same thing and just imitating their success. So like what I'm saying in a real roundabout sort of way is that I like that you're leading with the value of the community first. So like I want to see this work. I want to see people interacting and sharing stuff. Now I know that like another consideration for you, I don't want to take us inside journey too much, but you did release an NFT that was actually a beat at first. That was that in reaction to the fact that people were just biting your shit to begin with? Like I thought that was just kind of happening anyway. I imagine that's always got to be happening.
Yeah. So back in last year, back in 2021 in February, I decided to sell what's called a sound pack as a one-of-one NFT. And it was basically a collection of 10 original melody compositions that I composed, right? So, the utility for that is meant for a music producer to purchase that pack and then use one of those melody loops to create a full beat and create a full song. and I actually gave exclusive rights and copyright and royalty to the owner. So there, there's an actual like purpose for the NFT. And I did that back in February last year, and I was excited to do that because for many years prior to that, we were experiencing and still are experiencing, copyright and usage issues in
Right.
music, especially with music producers. We have all these sounds and loops that are going around, and it's to the point where you might use like a melody loop from somewhere, and there's hundreds of other beats that use that same melody loop. And so if you want to release that as a commercial song, you might experience some friction or maybe even like a copyright strike. And so this is an issue that's ongoing. I believe that like blockchain technology is like potentially our best solution for that. But I wanted to create an NFT sound pack that utilizes the blockchain to authenticate ownership for that. And it was the first of its kind. It sold for 4.5 Ethereum, which was nuts because those sample packs go for 20, 30 bucks. And so to sell a one-of-one like that was crazy. And so it definitely opened up my eyes to the potential of NFT. And from there, it just like Pandora's box opened, and the idea started.
And that one-of-one that you sold, that sound pack, ended up on Amigos' album.
Well, so actually, I want to clarify that. It ended up on a big song with Lil Keed that's actually not out yet, by the producer. So obviously music undisclosure, but yeah, it ended up on a pretty big song
Right.
that's happening. But the Migos thing comes into play because the producer, I don't want to put him on the spot just yet, but the producer that purchased that NFT actually was able to produce some Migos songs and actually create like a group, production group with their DJ, and now he's doing some incredible things. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it kind of like created this little shockwave, and I thought it was
Does the loss of control freak you out? That could have ended up on a Nickelback song. You don't know, right?
Hey, it could end up anywhere, but the best part about it is like they keep all of the royalties and all the income. Like, I don't take a dime. It's like I want them to get their return on their investment, and the producer who bought that pack got their return on investment times 10, which makes me super happy because like that's something we've struggled with for a long time as music producers, is like getting underpaid. And so for him to make that investment and to really push to really create that and flip it and make an ROI on it is amazing. And that's what I feel like is what an NFT should be, right? Like there should be some type of like use case for it or utility for it.
Il, do you have an elevator pitch for peers that ask you, what the heck are NFTs? Why should I care about them? What's your pitch to these other artists that haven't gotten into the space yet? And if you're willing to name drop any big artists that you've onboarded or helped get their feet wet for the first time, I'm curious.
Okay, cool. So the first one is the pitch. So yeah, I've been using this pitch pretty recently, and I think it kind of simplifies things. So I kind of just tell people that an NFT is basically like an ownership token, right? It's like a proof of ownership, and I kind of compare it to like owning a home, right? So like, let's say you own a house and you own the land that the house exists on, and in order for you to prove that you own that home, there's some type of like title, right? Like a physical piece of paper with like your name on it. It's like notarized. It's got the little seal on it. And so that piece of paper proves that you own that home. And that piece of paper exists like in a cabinet, right? Like in like the town hall or something. I don't know how these things work, but it's in someone's cabinet who's important. And that proves that you own that home. And so if that piece of paper were to disappear or get burned, you really can't technically, right? You can't really like prove that you own that home anymore, right? And so what you're paying for, what you really own is you own that piece of paper, right? You don't physically own like the dirt on that land. Like you don't physically own the house, the physical portion of the house. You just own that house, that land, and that representation. And so the the piece of paper is where the value is essentially. And so I tell people that an NFT is that piece of paper where you can have this sort of like public ledger that anyone can access that proves what you own, what that asset is associated towards, where it came from, who made it, when it was transferred, what date, what time, and that's what your investment is. The money is worth that token, and to be able to attach that to anything, including digital assets or really any experience, is really valuable. So that's kind of like what I tell people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, honestly, like, a county recorder, and answer everybody's question. Yep, my father actually does title insurance, so I grew up doing this kind of stuff.
Okay, so is that accurate, Justin? I don't want to like.
Yeah, it's a county recorder, and you're right. And what's interesting as I think about it is that although it's true, even when I was going to the courthouse, right, and everything was on microfiche, your fire scenario might have been more possible. Like, it was still possible, honestly. These days, pretty much everything is backed up digitally, but like, it goes to show that we're moving to digital representation, of ownership before this, which, if you look at it that way, makes NFTs not seem so far off. But anyway.
But also too, just to add on, like, my mom is a nurse. She's been a nurse all her life. I'm Filipino, so a lot of our moms are nurses, and so I just found it fascinating that for a long time, our medical records existed in like a little manila folder in a cabinet. And it took them a long time to just like start using Excel, and like start putting it on. And I understand security issues and stuff, but like, dude, like NFT blockchain is like the perfect solution for like medical records, I would say. I mean, I'm hoping.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, like that's potentially like another example.
Mm-hmm. Any big names you've onboarded?
So, I never want to like, I never like to take credit for like onboarding people, but I've definitely had like conversations like me and Russ, the rapper Russ, I've had some conversations about, NFT and like him potentially doing something. Like I when we talked about it, I told him about it and I was like, dude, you can do this, you can do this. Like, there's so many ideas for someone like Russ to be able to serve his community. And so I don't know. Hopefully, I don't want to like speak too soon, but hopefully he does something in the future. I'll just have conversations, but like like my peers, like big producers, like another producer named Illa, the producer, not Illmind, Illa, the producer. He produced a bunch of Eminem stuff as well, and like he's a really big producer, and he actually just dropped his NFT as well. And so me and him have conversations, and my boy Murder Beats. He's, in the NFT world as well. So yeah, it's just like little conversations here and there. But I'll tell you one thing: for the most part, the music community is still very much like they still very much don't really know what's going on or like what it is. And I think they're slowly becoming curious, but the majority of us are still very, very much just like everyone else. Like, I kind of want to know what this is. Like, it's interesting. Like, what's with the JPEG with the Bored Apes? Like, how does that work? And so I think we're still kind of like extremely early with it.
Yeah, even Kanye posted that picture saying like, "Don't talk to me about NFTs." What did you think about that?
I mean, he's just like everyone else. He's just a guy, even though he's Kanye West and he's a legend. Like, he's just a guy that like maybe doesn't know much about it, and he's kind of focused on what he knows and what he does. And that's it, right? Like, I thought it was really an honest answer. And I'm glad he was honest about it, right? But is there a world where Kanye does like an insane NFT and just like disrupts? Yes. Do we want to see that?
It's probably Q4 2022 for that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, imagine Ye doing like a Yeezy shoe that's attached to like an NFT QR code type thing. Yeah. I mean, it's someone like him would just completely obliterate.
He's like made for this space, honestly. Yes. Like, he's Mr. Productization. He's got lots of great ideas. Somebody else has worked with, by the way. After I like tried to grab her out, you worked with Dr. Dre. I was like, I remember Ariana Grande, and like forget like. I mean, nothing against Ariana Grande, but I'm not really a fan of Ariana Grande. I'm interested in knowing, because there's so many people coming into this space. Like, particularly from music and directors. I actually got another major film director. I talked to Cronenberg last week. I got another announcement today that I had to check the embargo on. And I can't bring it up because it's still embargoed until Wednesday. But leave it to say, like, everybody's entering the space. Do you think that this creates more opportunities for collaboration? I know I asked you when I did our interview if there's anybody that's, you know, from the hip hop space in the NFTs that you'd love to collaborate with. Who would you like to collaborate with? You haven't gotten a chance to, since you work with like half of everybody.
I mean, there's still so many, right? I think there's new, exciting artists that are born every day, right? I just came from a writing camp. I was in San Francisco last weekend for a couple of days, and this company, Empire Distribution, is home to a pretty good handful of insanely amazing artists from Africa, and they do, you know, Afrobeat. Some of them rap, some of them sing, and currently, like, Afrobeat is like one of my favorite genres right now. Like, that's all I listen to these days because it's just so musical and just lush and soulful. And so I had the honor of going to a writing camp and where they all flew in from Africa. It was like 6, 7, or 8 of them. And we just had multiple rooms and we were just making music. And, you know, that experience opened me up big time to just, you know, what kind of talent is out there, right? And the people that I enjoy working with and want to work with. So, you know, obviously there's still plenty of mainstream artists that I haven't worked with yet that I would love to, like, you know, Doja Cat, I still want to work with, SZA, you know, just in terms of like mainstream artists. Cardi B, I haven't done anything with.
Doja and SZA both won an award yesterday, if I remember correctly, didn't they? I think so.
They did, yeah. So basically, anyone that won a Grammy, I want to work with that I haven't worked with. I'm really excited about, and I've always been for a long time, just raw talent, right? Like, I'm interested in working with like the next, you know, the next Doja Cat or like the next Drake, right? And I think that's what most music producers want to do is you want to find that talent and focus on that talent and hone in on it, and hopefully, you know, enough stuff sticks on the wall to where they get somewhere. And that's the thrill of it. That's what I'm excited about, is like finding the up and coming talent and hopefully changing someone's life.
Well, I think this is awesome. I think that we're going to maybe go ahead and move this over to Twitter Spaces in the next couple of minutes. You guys, like, join us over there. I mean, I don't know. It's not like I guess it's a slightly more casual conversation where everyone gets to talk a little bit. So I think that's kind of cool. Come and try and hang out. So, but why don't you go ahead and give us a URL? You know, if people want to look into Squad of Knights or want to know more about what you're up to specifically, where should they go?
Yeah. So everything you can find about the project is on squadofknights.com, and that's Knights with a K, like chess knights. So squadofknights.com. You can follow the Twitter account, which is at Squad of Knights, the same thing, no underscores, no spaces. And those are the two places. All the links are on squadofknights.com. We are minting. Public mint is going on right now, and public mint ends on Friday. So this Friday at 1 p.m., April 8th, no more public mint. The public mint right now is 0.1 Ethereum. So, you know, barrier of entry is still pretty decent for the public mint. So definitely get in there. And yeah, we're starting to see the Knights take over OpenSea, and like, this is the super beginning stage. But right now, we want to onboard all of you guys that are musicians, that are early, that are looking to collaborate, looking to find other people, interesting people that you can work with. The community is so amazing. Like, I'm in the Discord, like, I'm lurking in there all the time, and I try to reply to everyone. And I just see,
and
like,
it's musicians too, right? Because, like, you know, theoretically musicians, but also like producers, like, you know, like if you really go fit the triangle, you could be on there, I guess, you know.
Yeah, if you're a rapper and you need beats and producers, there's hundreds of producers waiting to work with you and get to know you. If you're a music producer looking for the next rapper or singer to work with, there's hundreds of them in the Discord, in the community, that are ready to work with you. And so that's the cool thing about this project and this community, is like, they're literally waiting for you to DM them and say, oh my God, I hope someone, you know, hits me that's like a producer. I'm waiting to work with them, right? And that goes completely opposite against, what we've been doing, which is, well, Justin, you're a rapper and I'm a producer, so you need to give me, you need to give me $500 like for a beat, right?
Right.
And so it creates this like barrier of like, man, you're blocking off a potential opportunity to like work with someone who you can change each other's lives with. And so this idea, and I'm not saying that like charging money for what you do is a bad thing. There's a very healthy ecosystem of that that exists. But this is just an alternative. This is let's put all that stuff away and let's just work because you're awesome and I'm awesome and I feel like we can make good music. And I feel like there's going to be some amazing IP that's created here. So squadnights.com, public mint is going to be officially over this Friday. Get in this week while you can. Otherwise, you'll get secondary on OpenSea, and it's been a strong community so far. So I'm really, really like excited about this.
And if people want to follow your music career, your Twitter is also Illmind. Is that correct? What's your Twitter?
It's actually Illmind Producer, right? Okay. So ILLMIND Producer. That's one word, and that's all my social media. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that. But you can even go to illmindproducer.com and you can see my bio and some of the stuff I've done.
And I interviewed Ill last week. We're going to probably run it this Friday in my column, so look for that, guys. In the meantime, I hope that y'all come over to Twitter Spaces. Let's go hang out for a little while. We'll try to answer some questions. Let's get some people asking some questions about NFTs and music. Thank you so much, Ill. Anything you'd like to add, Logan?
Oh man, go ahead. Logan.
I'll go at the end.
Okay, no, I was just gonna say thank you, Logan. Thank you, Justin, for having me again.
Sure.
The whole squad, the whole community. I'm really honored and excited to even be here. Honestly, I'm still a student of this. I don't know everything. I'm kind of finding my place in this and finding out how I can contribute. As a music producer and as what I've done. And so Squad of Nights is something that I'm really super excited about. And I'm hoping that we can onboard more people, spread the word, show people how powerful Web3 could be for a community like this. And we're going to push this, to the moon and beyond and see where it goes. So thank you, guys.
Yeah, I love the idea. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. You've sold me purchasing one later on this evening. And I'll see you.
Awesome, dude.
Are you going to be on the Twitter space?
Yeah, I'm actually going to jump in the Twitter space for a little bit with you guys.
Okay, sweet. Okay, cool. I have a few more questions, but I'll save them for the Twitter space. So let's jump over there now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, see you guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Logan, we will see you over there. Yep. All right, we'll see you soon.